a gifted singer, songwriter, vocalist, performing artist, you name it, she does it all. New hit single, Franklin Do. I'm speaking of the incredibly gifted Ruby Rose Fox. So on behalf of Traxx Radio, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Ruby Rose Fox. My queen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I have been a huge, I don't like to use the term fan because it sounds so generic, but an admirer of your work, going back to the Salt album, incredible. And I'm saying after you did that album, I say, wait a minute, I hope this is not her albatross. How do you top that? Because you have a lot of people out there expect so much from you.
Yeah. It's been a transition. For sure. But first of all, thank you for saying that. Thank you so much. There's been a lot of change through the pandemic, and so releasing this new song was really fun because it was musically really different. And I really just wanted, after such a hard time, I really just wanted to make something you could dance to that was a little bit more lighthearted than usual.
Well, I can tell from your previous work, you really challenged yourself because everything has been straightforward, in your face. This is what it is. No sugarcoating.
Oh, yeah.
Then all of a sudden we get to Franklin Do. I'm like, wait a minute, is everything okay? One of the many things that I like to compliment you on, not only you being a gifted, very gifted songwriter, but also being a performing artist, and you remind me so much of Grace Jones. I know I'm dating myself a little bit.
Oh, but my God. That is the nicest thing anyone has said to me, ever.
You do. You remind me so much of Grace Jones. And to all the young people out there, if you don't know who Grace Jones is, get your music dictionary and become aware of who this great artist is. But also, listening to your lyrics, and I'm a stickler for lyrics. I go back to the Salt album. That whole album reminds me, I don't know if you remember a movie called V for Vendetta. Your attitude and mentality as far as mental health in this industry, you gut punch a lot of people, because a lot of people are really afraid to say what's really transpiring in this industry to a lot of gifted artists like yourself, as far as the issues that they have going on with them from a personal standpoint. I know a lot of great female artists that I've had the pleasure of interviewing over the years where things have been put on them that they have to look a certain way. And I wanted to ask you, how important is it for you to develop an app like this, Muscle Music App, to really make people more aware of what the artists actually go through behind the scenes?
You mentioned the Salt work, which of course was a one-woman show as well. And firstly, thank you for relating me to Grace Jones. That's an unbelievable compliment. But it's funny because I was actually doing that show at Harvard Theater, and sort of debuting it, and I just had this very overwhelming feeling. The work itself was exhausting. It was during the height of Trump, and as a Jewish person, I felt extremely scared in that time. And I don't know why, but I've always had a sort of gut punch approach to my work, in that this is who I am, this is what I think, and my sound changes, I'm changing, but there is no sort of like nice build. I mean, I make art. I'm not really interested in becoming a part of a machine. I've always been very independent, but on stage I felt an aloneness that I don't think I've ever felt on stage before. And I realized that to do something that big, a full-blown show with 10 costumes and, you know, a self-produced album, I was literally doing everything. There was no bedrock of support for it. There wasn't financially, physically, therapeutically, and no one had ever created sort of pedagogy that combined the science of safety and performing before. I was taught it in school, and I felt this real void, and I almost had to make muscle music, which is my nervous system program for artists, to create it for myself for the next chapter. And I feel so much, it's funny because the next song coming out is sort of a complete twist on a very old boy song that's very linked to Tennessee and racism. And we're really sort of twisting it. It's very confrontational. It's very dark. And I was just thinking that, like, oh, wow, I feel so much more grounded doing this kind of work now with the support I have for myself now.
Right.
So it's been a real journey, I'll tell you.
Well, one of the things that I get from you is, as far as being a songwriter, it seems that everything comes to you from a very natural, organic place. How are you able to kind of maintain a balance as far as being able to keep your sanity? Because, you know, people have set their high expectations when they fall, quote unquote, when they fall in love with a particular artist. How have you been able to kind of maintain a balance and even keel, or quote unquote, having some level of normalcy, even if that does exist?
You mean with like changing, like just changing myself, being a dynamic artist, like changing so much?
Yes.
And the expectation of the audience? You know, I don't think I knew until I went to a party once and someone knew who I was. This was in Boston. And they were like, I love your show, blah, blah. They were just talking to me and they said, so what's next? And I just, like, I have no idea. I think it's going to be, and I said, I think it's going to be really different. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, but isn't that kind of what you do? And I realized that I've actually trained my audience to completely expect newness and change, and almost like, what am I going to do next? It's not going to be the same. And so in that way, I do feel like I have this whole path to be really exploratory and sort of follow whatever pole is leading me down.
You know, you're one of the last of a dying breed of performing artists. I thought for sure after David Bowie passed away, I said, wait a minute, what's next? What's next? And it's so refreshing to see that you have remained true to who you are. And because a lot of people, they get caught up in this industry and people are being made promises to, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you have it surrounded by a bunch of yes people. But you remain true to